All right. Hello. Okay, we have. I should probably tell. Let's tell everyone we're live now since we were so late. Um, One sec. Do you have headphones, Jorge? You might not need them, but
I've got headphones if you want me to put them on.
I don't hear echo yet. Okay. All right. Let's just get started.
Okay.
All right. So let's just do quick intros. Yeah, I don't see. It's not updating me on viewers, so I'm not quite sure who's there and who isn't. Let's get chat up. Just want to make sure. Can everyone hear us and see us? Okay, now it says 4 viewers. That's they're starting to trickle in here. See, we had. Well, all right. Well, you know what? We'll go ahead and just get started here. Uh, my name's Matt. I am founder and CEO of THC University, and I'm joined here with Mr. Jorge Cervantes. Everyone knows who he is, and we're going to first talk about cannabis jobs. What kind of cannabis jobs are out there? Where are they? How many are there? All that kind of type stuff. And then we're also going to be talking about cost saving tips for commercial growers. And then we'll get into all of the different questions that people submitted. Real quick with jobs, number of jobs in July. It's probably going to be a couple hundred less jobs than we had last month, so it's pretty significantly slower. But that's because a lot more less laws, I think, are really changing on a local level in a lot of different areas this month. As you know, opposed to last month, we had a lot of job growth in Nevada. You know, in Nevada this month, we had a lot of dispensaries open up. So it really just the market really just kind of fluctuates. Kind of the biggest states that kind of really picked up. Well, the biggest states to get jobs, California by far number one place to get a job. Then we have Colorado, followed by Washington and Oregon. And then you know the places to really be looking out for: Illinois, New York, and Nevada are the 2, 3 places that are really starting to boom up with a lot of jobs right now. So I think going into fall, we'll be seeing those numbers be increasing. As far as the type of jobs being offered, most jobs are sales jobs. Marketing jobs are a big one. And these are all, a lot of these companies are, you know, they don't actually deal with actually physically touching the product at all. So, you know, they're vape companies looking for sales reps to get into stores, a lot of business to business sales, you know, grow supplies, lighting, companies, lots of that type of stuff. So if you're really wanting to get into cannabis industry, I would really kind of gear your resumes and go after those sales jobs. They're everywhere right now. If you really want to handle the product, bud tenders, trimmers, and managers actually. Managers, there's a big demand for managers, but yeah, bud tenders, trimmers, the easiest entry level jobs that are available, and that there's a lot of them out there. And then as far as hiring, What kind of employee, what are employers looking for employees to hire? Experience is huge. However, with the industry being so underground, experience is pretty rare to come by. So knowledge and proof, what's going on. We also, we have the Cannabis Jobs Board, which has all the resumes of THCU graduates, and we email blast all of the dispensaries and cannabis related industry jobs, or businesses out there, on our top graduates and our newest graduates. So this way we're really trying to get our certified graduates from THC University in front of employers. Other than that, Jorge, any other jobs that you see in the cannabis industry that are needed? I know you're in California, I'm in Colorado, so it's different there as far as job wise. But what do you see as far as the cannabis job market, and
Well, really,
what kind of jobs are available?
really, it's just like any other businesses. I mean, you've got every function necessary, everything from the guy that cleans things up. You've got delivery people, you've got people that run out and do things, lower level jobs. But and then you've got accounting jobs. Those accounting jobs are really important because you've got a lot of money you're dealing with and different inventory items as well. So in any accounting experience, bookkeeping experience, or running business experience is essential. And like you say, I mean, the salespeople make the most money. And, they're really, really important people, because they're about, I remember when I used to work at the newspaper office, sales or advertising was 1/3 of the equation, so usually it breaks down like this. You've got 1/3 of the equation is sales, 1/3 is production, and 1/3 is administrative. And that just doesn't change.
Right. Yeah, and I think it's really not going to be that much different from a lot of other industries that are out there. Um, since we started late, I just want to kind of get into the question and answer part as soon as possible. So let's Jorge, let's go over the kind of different grow tips that you wanted to share on the cost saving grow tips, I should say, for
Okay.
larger scale growers.
Okay. Well, to me, I mean, most people are concerned with one of the biggest things with a business, because this is a business, whether it's farming or not. It's a business. The fastest way to bring in an income and keep your expenses low is to grow clones and be a clone supplier, or stem cuttings is what they're actually known as. Because you can take those clones and turn them around within 2 weeks. From the time you take the clone to the time you get your money, that's only 2 weeks. If you grow a big crop, it could take you a heck of a long time to get rid of all of those. There's a lot of safety concerns, mainly for pests and diseases, powdery mildew being the worst. You got to have a clean place, and that could be a little expensive, but it's worth it. Now, as far as saving money in other places, as far as growing big crops, grow in a greenhouse, grow outdoors. If you can do one of those two, you're taking advantage of the natural sunlight out there. That's super important. With a greenhouse, you can get a lot more time out of your season. You can control the temperature better, but keep all your expenses low. Don't go listen to some salesman at the local halide store telling you you have to have this fan, you have to have this light, and getting you all excited and stuff. Don't do that. Stay away from people that have things to sell you to help you. For example, gosh, you can spend so much money on lights or fans or pots or soil or nutrients. Nutrients is another big one. You should be able to mix your own nutrients, and I wouldn't be buying nutrients off the shelf, especially if you're growing big, because you got to cut your expenses. Then the next thing to do, you itemize each and every point that you work. How much does it, what do you do every day when you maintain the greenhouse? What do you do? What's your 6-month schedule look like? What's your 12-month schedule look like? And itemize it and write it down. And then you attack each one of those tasks and each one of those costs individually to drive the cost down on that. Then the next thing is, I'm a real proponent of measuring. You measure everything. This is my main thermometer. It's a laser thermometer. I don't know if you can see that hit my hand. Yeah. What that does is this measures everything. For example, I don't know if you can see this here. You can spot measure. I have saved lots of crops with one $60 thermometer. Here's another thing, this pH pen, a pH pen and an EC pen. I mean, I've made people hundreds and thousands of dollars in the last few weeks with a $60 pen. If you don't know what the heck you're talking about, you can guess, you can blame it on other people, or you can get the facts and get them straight. This is the one to use. Here's a sound meter. You may need a decibel meter you can check all kinds of stuff, not just outdoor things. You can check indoor things. For example, your fan, you can tell if the bearings are bad. You maintain your stuff and don't let it go. And then too, you buy in bulk. You always buy in bulk and you mix your own stuff. It's way cheaper to do that. You'll save thousands of dollars doing that. And of course, you want to get a reseller's license so you can buy wholesale. That's essential. And buy with cash money or buy with money. Don't make any trades. Don't trade cannabis for products. It's just sloppy. And your whole goal is to get the price per pound as low as possible. And the last tip that I'm going to leave you with is this. It's see, when you grow a plant and then you have to trim it. Well, trimming's very expensive. If you can take that plant and just process it, if you've got a big market for edibles or concentrates, you can process that straight into a concentrate. Don't even trim it. If that's the case, that will save you a ton. So basically, all the information I've given you is break everything down and attack each thing separately.
Very good. That was great. Yeah. So yeah, let's get into some of the questions and answers. So we had posted the questions up for the last couple of weeks, and we had over 300 questions submitted. So, but we're going to get into as many as possible. There are lots of duplicate questions. There's questions that people sent pictures of, and I might just save those. Unfortunately, for a different time, just with all the glitches we had, I don't really want to try to screen share the pictures and stuff. It's been kind of glitchy on us, so I'm just going to stick with the questions and answers. Let's see. Let's start with, and I'm just going to mention first names here. All right, we got Thomas, and Thomas is a passionate grower who knows close to nothing in the scheme of things. With his state's laws coming close to legalization, where does he supposed to begin? I'm assuming he wants to be a grower, so he's just wondering where does he even start to begin the process?
Okay, that's a real common question, and Thomas exemplifies many people out there that really want to get into this industry, but their fingers aren't green. They don't have green thumbs, or they don't know if they do or not. And everybody in the world's going to give you advice, Thomas. They're going to tell you you need to do this and you need to do that. But you know what? Most of those guys are buffoons. They don't know what the heck they're talking about. They are talking about themselves and projecting that upon you. The thing to do, just tell you what they have done. And you pick up this book right here. First off, Marijuana Grow Basics. This book, it's not a tough read. It's got lots of photos in it, but it will take you through the entire growing process and keep you on track. That's the main thing that most people do. They fall off. They don't. They get off track. So they have a little bit of problem. Instead of waiting a little bit to work it out and troubleshoot it properly, they'll listen to 3 different friends that give them 3 different things to do, and they do them all, and then they're in worse situation. So that's what I do. I'd start with good basic information and take a basics class too. That'd help you immensely.
Yeah, well, that kind of reminds me about your books. You know, you have the grow basics, and then you have the kind of more advanced horticulture, marijuana horticulture. Exactly, yeah. And then you have the encyclopedia, which is just giant, you know. And for someone who is just starting out, you know, and they're serious about getting started with growing, those bigger books just might be a little bit too much to kind of start with.
It can be a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah, yeah. All right, so let's get to the next question. Okay, so this one's from Miranda. She's looking to start her own home grow. Is there any tips for growing when there's children in the same house?
Yeah, sure. A lot of my friends grew up as, you know, with children, and I don't have any children myself, but they grew up with well, their parents were growers, or the parent was a grower, and I was around their kids all the time, you know. And most of the parents, the biggest problem was when the DARE program was around, because they go to school and they'd ask the kids to turn you in, or the teacher would ask the kids to turn in their parents if they're growing. Some kids raise their hand, you know. I mean, my God. First thing is, I just tell them exactly what it is, and if there's no problems at school or whatnot. And I tell them not to mention it, though. It's not important that they mention it at school, because it could be a security risk. And then if that's uncomfortable for you, I just keep it in a locked door and ask them not to go behind a locked door, and ask them not to go in. But the main thing is, gosh, it's how you feel about it. If you make edibles and whatnot, things that kids might like, keep them away from the kids, keep them under lock and key, pay attention to that. You know, it's like anything else. If you have medication, you don't just keep it out in the open where the kids can get a hold of it. Yeah, but gosh, I was just up at a festival this weekend or last weekend, and I met a lot of 3rd generation growers, and everybody looked really normal to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good tips. Okay, so this one is from Kimberly. How do I kill root gnats once and for all? There's 2 questions. So there's the root gnat question, and then also, how do I know for sure when my buds are done and ready to start, ready for harvest? So there's 2 questions. You can answer them separately.
Okay. The first one, well, fungus gnats, you know, they're usually attracted to moist growing situations, and they really like to hang out around algae and stuff, but they live right in the top area of the soil in general. That's where they do most of their work, where they do all their breeding and whatnot. So the first thing you do is you make a hostile environment for them, and you don't keep the soil surface too wet. And the way to do that is to cover it so you cover it so it doesn't have the algae on it, and that doesn't attract them. But watch your water levels so it's not too, watch your water levels so the water, it doesn't stay too moist. And so, you know, because they'll come back once and for all. Doesn't always work, you know. I mean, I wish it were like that, but it's not. And then the next thing you do is you use a product called Gnatrol, Gnatrol. A lot of times you find that in this Vectobac, but there's several specific gnat or fungus gnat poisons, but make sure they're either organic but not systemic. That doesn't get into the system of the plant. They must be for vegetables or edible plants. Yeah, and then let's see, the second question was, okay, for peak ripeness. Now, this is, it's a little bit different for different varieties. Gosh, I've got it, actually, I've got ripeness in all of my books. The one I remember, the one I remember right now, because I just got done with it, is the chapter from the Cannabis Encyclopedia. I've got an entire page here, and there's pages, there's a whole progression of this. And what we have here, for example, this is a capitate stalk resin gland. It's also a trichome, but a resin gland is a more precise name. Trichomes are just any little thing, plant hairs, or anything that sticks up off the plant. What you do is you look at it with a 30 power microscope, anywhere from a 20 to a 50 power loop. I like the 30 power. And you look at those little trichomes, or the little resin glands, and you want to look at the capitate stalked ones. That's the one with the ball on the top, because most of the cannabinoids are located right at the base of the ball. Well, what you want is those to be completely mature, but not senescing, and senescing means they're dying back. So you wait for those things to get either a little milky white or turn amber, and a percentage of them will do that. It kind of depends on your personal taste, or what your clients would like as far as the exact time you pick it. But usually, gosh, you've got about a week to pick it, or to harvest the crop. Now, another thing is, at the top of the plant, it usually becomes ripe a little sooner than it does at the bottom of the plant. So if you can, harvest the top part of the plant, leave the bottom part of the plant another few days until those resin glands develop, and then harvest that. That'll pick your harvest up a little bit.
There you go. Well, cool. Thanks. This question is from Casey. And this is, what is the best way to get rid of spider mites in the late flowering stage? So,
man, that's really a problem. You know, first you got to watch those. The best thing to do is not let them get that far. Then the next thing to do is, well, you want to create a hostile environment. There's several ways to do that, but and I've written extensively about that. But what I like to use is a product called Widmer's Exclude, WHITMERE' Exclude, EXCLUDE. Now, there's several different things, active ingredients that can be put in that. What you've got pyrethrum, which is a natural insecticide from the, let's see, tagnets. Well, it's from one of the marigolds, let's just say. And then the other ones are synthetic pyrethrum, and those are smithrin and resmithrin, and they're substantially stronger. And although not technically organic, they are safe for the plant to use. They don't enter the system. Now, why I mentioned that product, Exclude, I've been using it for years, is because when that pyrethrum comes out, or resmithrin or smithrin comes out, it's encapsulated in a little bubble, and that bubble sprays out and lands on the plant. Well, what that does is, see, the pyrethrum only has a life of about 30 minutes to an hour and a half. So what that does is it extends the life to 4 to 8 hours. And if a mite comes by and touches that, it'll kill it. And that's your best bet. I wouldn't spray like 3 or 4 days beforehand, and then I would definitely wash the plants afterwards. I've done a video on that on my YouTube channel, and it's about washing the plants, the harvested plants, in H2O2, or hydrogen peroxide, and that'll take all of the external pollutants off. But no problem.
Very good. All right, this question is from Benjamin.
Okay.
Can you add too much of an organic amendment, such as worm castings or chicken manure in the soil or medium? And if so, what levels are acceptable?
Okay, that's a real good question. Actually, you know, if you've got on outdoor soil, if you've got over 10%, or yeah, 10%. Actually, most people say 6 to 8%. You organic matter in the soil instead of mineral matter. It's too much. It's your soil's out of balance. And generally, what people do is they put way too much stuff in their soil. And it's not only a waste, it doesn't make your plants grow any better. It may hurt them. For example, in the case of, let's see, what you say, you put in chicken manure, you can burn the hell out of your plants with that. For example, I've got a 4x8 bed, or let's see, a 6x10 bed out here. And I won't put in an entire year, I won't put any more than 3 cubic feet of chicken manure on that. And that's a small percentage of the soil when it comes down to it. So please be careful when you put that stuff in. And then worm castings, they're even worse, because see, the thing is with this organic matter is it's different weights and different consistencies. So it's really hard to get it to mix properly if you put too much in it. But worm castings, boy, I mean, I keep that way low. All of this stuff I've got written down in all my, in actually the marijuana horticulture called the Bible, and also the encyclopedia. I mean, I could pull them off out of my head right now, but it's really better to look those things up in a book and then write it down, and then copy that or pay attention to it that way, because there's a lot of different elements. Gosh, I've got like 8 or 10 pages of different organic elements to add to a mix. But it's really important to keep those levels low, and that's it.
Well, that's great. Let's go. Question from Andrew. Can you take cuttings from a plant that's in flower, and can you recommend a high yielding plant for outdoors in the UK?
Yeah, actually, oh yeah, it's no problem. Take cuttings from plants when they're flowering. The earlier in flowering, the better. And just remember that plant's already had one complete life, and it could be weaker or sicker at the end. So you want to take special care of that plant, or those little cuttings. And I'd take a few extra in case some of them get sick and die. The other thing is it will take longer for that plant to root in general, because the plant is at the end of its life, and it's got to figure out that it's growing roots, and that could take another week or two. And then after that, it's going to have to revert back to vegetative growth, and you're going to see some weird growth and everything, but the whole process could take 2 months or longer. So just remember that. And the main reason to save those plants is if you want that genetic. That's really a good idea. Yeah, if you want that genetic. And as far as great varieties, I'm a little apprehensive on recommending varieties per se, because so many of them, like say, for example, Big Bud, it's an old one that I know. Okay, that's the base of quite a few plants. Well, you look at a Big Bud from one company and you look at a Big Bud from another company, they're not the same. So if I say something, I don't want to lead you wrong. What I suggest to you in the UK is you go to a good seed company like Herbie's. Herbie's there in the UK. It's a friend of mine runs it, named Mike. He goes on the bike tours in Netherlands with me and Spain. But anyway, check with Herbie's or check with the seedsman. Those guys live there, and they're local experts. I'm in a different place, and they're going to give you better advice than me specifically on that. And the thing is, ask them every question you can think about too. Don't let them off easy, and get their phone number.
Locals know best. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. All right. So we're gonna stick with some European questions. I guess we got a lot of questions from Europe. This is Bill. He asks, what can Spanish citizens do that'll have a positive impact for the European cannabis revolution?
Wow, they're already doing a heck of a lot in Spain. It's very near and dear to my heart. They've already started the social clubs. They're biggest in Barcelona. There's what, a couple hundred of them now. They've gone through a shakeout, and also some the city came in and closed a bunch of them for code violations and whatnot. But they're pushing the envelope more than anybody else in Europe, as a matter of fact. Most of the seed breeders and many growers from the Netherlands have moved down to Spain, as they've moved over from Belgium, Italy, France, Germany, and from northern countries. Everybody wants to move to Spain. So just by doing what they're doing, they've done tons of stuff. And then also there's a few people, they've started different associations. There's the Catalan Growers Association, and also the Basques have done a lot. In fact, I want to mention a good friend of mine, Martin Barriuso, who's, well, he won his case, but he's fighting him in the courts. He's fighting him in the courts. The federal government's appealed his case, and he's going to fight him some more. They took €180,000 off of him and his club, and he's fighting it. And this guy's, he's tough. He's getting it back. And then there's also several magazines in Spain that are flogging legalization nonstop. My good friends at Cáñamo magazine. Cáñamo means hemp in Spanish. Also, a Soft Secrets. Soft Secrets is the biggest one of the Soft Secrets. It throws, I don't know, something like, I think they're throwing 50,000 now. And then there's also El Cultivador, the cultivator, that's put out by the guys that run Spanabiz, the biggest fair in the world. So, I mean, I can't say enough good things about Spain. They're moving ahead.
Good. Some good activist questions. All right, so let's go to a question from California. Growing in Central California outdoor, how would you handle the heat stress of the plants, and when would you suggest to plant seeds or clones?
Okay, let's see. Heat stress. Well, first thing, if you can, first thing I do is I'd plant as early as possible. Because if you plant early, very early in the year, those roots in the plant are going to go deep in the ground, and they're going to follow the moisture that's already in the soil down as it migrates down or is pulled down by gravity. That's going to give you a lot tougher plant. You may have to give it a little bit of supplemental light at night because the nights are so short to keep it from flowering. But man, I can't say enough good things about planting early and in the ground. This doesn't work for containers. Containers don't handle heat stress nearly as well. So if you're growing, grow it in the ground for heat stress. Next thing I do is I would cover the plants with a shade cloth if that is possible. A lot of times it's very difficult to do, and you have to cover a wide area, and it can get expensive. So if that's not possible, first thing, try it if you can, and then the plants will receive less light and less heat during the day, and that's because they quit growing after 85 degrees. They virtually screech to a halt because the chemistry of the inside of the plant is much higher. I mean, it's 10 degrees warmer, and then let's see. The other thing to do is, you're probably already doing it, is use mulch. Mulch is going to keep the soil surface way cooler, and that's super important. Not only will it save water, it will keep that soil surface cool, and it will provide a layer of atmosphere for a layer of life about an inch thick just under that mulch, which will keep your plants a lot stronger. Yeah, and I wouldn't spray them with anything to keep them from to keep them from transpiring. I stay away from anything like that. But those things, oh yeah, and if you can, plant them so they get less sun during the middle of the day, if that's possible. A little bit of shade during the middle of the day is just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right, so let's move on to one more question. This is from an Andrew, a different Andrew. I think we already had an Andrew ask one. What is your opinion on LEDs? And specifically, would you recommend LEDs for flowering? Would you use LEDs for the entire growth period? Let's just hear your 2 cents on LED lighting.
Okay, well, I did quite a bit of research in my new book, Cannabis Encyclopedia, about LEDs, and I also had a lighting engineer that from Spain. He talks English, though. He talks English as a native language. He edited the chapter, so I'm very, very comfortable with it. There's some very big physical and principles you just can't get over on with anything. And one of the main ones is that light diminishes to the square of the distance. That means the further away it is, something is from the light up here, the excuse me, the further away it is from the light up here, the dimmer the light's going to be. So if you got 1,000 lumens coming from here, right here at the lamp, 1 foot away, you're going to have 250. That's 1/4. That's how fast it fades. Every foot it fades by 3/4. Okay, so you can't get away from that. And most of these guys, I figure there's about 150 different manufacturers now of these LED lights, and most of the people that I see just don't have the background for me to believe what they're saying, and they can't get over on that principle. You know, they can talk around all these things, and I understand there's some good ones out there, but I'm real apprehensive to give any recommendations at all about LEDs as far as purchasing them goes. One of my good friends, and I hang out with him a lot, he's done a case study in this book here, Tony 13 in Valencia, Spain. He's been experimenting with them for a long time. He does not sell the lamps. He has nothing invested other than to grow good pot or good medicine to help him with his fibromyalgia. But what he's found is the best thing to do is mix the LEDs with the HPS lamps for flowering. And like I say, there's a good case study on that. And then the other things, they appear to work pretty well for vegetative growth, and that is because in vegetative growth you require less than half as much light as it does to flower. Another thing about these LEDs is I think the biggest ones now are 5 or 6 watts. I won't address that part, but it's very small. So we already know about the square of the distance. So if we've got this 6 watts, it can't throw it very far, even if you focus that light. And if you focus that lamp, the hood is going to eat up a lot of the light, so you don't get as much as the bulb produced. Like I say, they've got to have a real strong argument, and I got to prove a dozen times before I can say a lot of good things about them.
Right. Well, and I know just from from what commercial growers are doing, they're just experimenting right now with LED lights. They'll have a room maybe, but they're not committing. And a lot of it's, a big thing of it is too cost. It's so much more expensive. So it's, for a giant grow room to convert to that, it'd be a lot out of pocket. So I mean,
you mentioned cost, because this is a big subject for me. You mentioned cost. The LEDs and the technology is changing so rapidly that you spend $1,000 or $700-800 on a light today. In 6 months, that lamp will probably be totally outdated, or in a year, it's guaranteed it's going to be outdated. So you've already blown your budget, and the LEDs last a long time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's a little early to invest in them. I really do.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, we'll go ahead and end the Q&A session with that. And everyone who's watching today, if you register at TH University, you'll get a signed copy of the Marijuana Grow Basics there, signed and sent to you for anybody who registers today. No coupon code or anything. If you're just one of the students who registers today, it's your lucky day because you get a signed book. So there's our giveaway for everyone who attended. Apologize for the technical delay, but we did finally get it going, it ended up being pretty good. We'll be doing this again next month possibly, and different topics, more questions, and I also expect also have more guests on webinars as well. Yeah, this was a lot of fun. Thanks, Jorge, for taking the time to doing this with us.
Hey, it's a good time. I'm always happy to talk to fellow gardeners.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again, everyone, for coming out. Again, the giveaways for today, thuniversity.org. You get a free signed copy of the Marijuana Grow Basics. And this is, I believe, this will be available on YouTube as well. So great. Thanks again for coming, guys. Really appreciate it. Take care.